Hey everybody, this is Joe with H-Bomb Productions, and this is hopefully going to be the beginning of a YouTube series that I want to start that I'm going to call Life and Music. And it's kind of self-explanatory. I want to get people to talk to me, tell me about a life experience and how an album, whether any genre you want, an album of music relates to that story. It could be a funny story, it could be a sad story, it could be an inspirational story, it could be a really fucked up story, it could be any kind of story you want to tell. As long as the album in question plays a specific role in this story. So I'm going to show you basically what it is that I'm looking for, and I'm going to talk about an album that I'm pretty familiar with. I don't own this album in any kind of format. I stream it on Apple Music every so often, but I don't own it on CD. I never had it on cassette, and I don't have it on vinyl. I do plan on buying it on vinyl sometime soon, but anyway, this album is Hotel California by the Eagles. So I guess this story starts when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was a bit of a band nerd. I played the tuba in the marching band. Don't judge me. Anyway, at the time I wasn't really into classic rock at the time. I didn't care much for it. It wasn't my thing. Grunge was the big thing at the time, and I was very much into a lot of the bands that were coming out of Seattle. I was also a bit of a hair metal fan, but that was already on its way out, and grunge was coming in. So I had this really close friend whose father passed away when we were in high school, and my father and his father were pretty close. They used to work together at TxDOT when my dad was still working there. He had a long battle with an illness. I can't remember what kind of illness it was, but I remember my parents telling me that he was really sick and that he wasn't going to last very long, and sure enough, he ended up passing away. So we were on this bus trip. I can't remember where we were going to, but I know it was a really long bus ride. And what do you do when you're on a bus ride? You listen to music. And we had this mutual friend who was more knowledgeable about music than I was at the time, and he was more open-minded than me. I wasn't a big fan of classic rock back then like I am today. So he had a cassette. He had the cassette of Hotel California by the Eagles. So my friend whose father had passed away had mentioned that since his father had passed away, his younger brother would listen to his father's cassette of Hotel California quite regularly. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, I think he said that he would go to bed every night with his Walkman and his headphones, and he'd listen to it as he went to sleep. So they played it. They played it there on the bus, and I had never heard it before. And I remember the song. I remember the opening of the song. Everybody in the bus knew it except for me. And I was like, "What's the name of that song?" And they said, "Hotel California." Okay. So that was the first time I had heard Hotel California, and I was listening to it, my friend who had a special bond with that song and that album, that cassette. And that was my first time hearing that song, and I really liked it. I thought it was neat. I thought, cool song. I didn't think it was great at the time. I thought it was cool that my friend who had experienced this loss had found something to remind him of his father, and I thought that was really nice. So a few years later, I had a brother-in-law who was killed in an accident in the oil fields out in southeast New Mexico. He and my sister had 5 daughters. Really good guy. Because they had 5 daughters, they used to own this really big van, and it wasn't like those aerodynamic vans that they sell now. No, this was one of those big old school vans with a big sliding door that on the side that you had to pull with your with all your elbow strength, and it was great. You know, it had lots of room inside. You go open it, you get inside, you could actually almost stand up straight. Not quite. I was a big kid in high school, so I couldn't really stand up straight. But it had like the two chairs that swiveled around, and then in the back, it had like a bench area that would actually, like, it would fold out into almost like a bed. It was really neat. You could lounge in there. You could sleep in there if you wanted to. You could sleep back there. I mean, you could be pretty comfortable in there. So, I have a big family myself. Like I said, my sister has 5 daughters. They needed this van at my house. I'm the youngest of 8. Our house had a big backyard, and that's pretty much where everybody parked. Everybody parked in the back. And the van was parked right in the middle, closest to the house. We knew that we were going to have a lot of company at our house. We had a pretty big house. We had 3 bedrooms in our house, but my parents had told me, hey, look, we're going to need your bedroom to accommodate some of the people that are coming in. I said, sure. Where am I going to sleep? Am I going to sleep on the sofa in the living room? Am I going to sleep on the floor? I mean, just tell me, where am I going to sleep? And they said, well, since it's just you don't have a significant other at the time, why don't you sleep in the van? I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, you can go sleep out in the van. It'll be good. It'll be fun. And I was like, okay, it's weird, but okay, why not? Well, it's not the worst thing I've ever done. So I have my blanket and my pillow, and I'm walking out to the backyard. I unlock the door, walk in, and there's all sorts of junk in there. There's all sorts of stuff that my sister and her daughters had in the van, because they had traveled 3 hours to Marfa. I'm trying to like maneuver myself in this van, trying to get around in this van. It's a big van, but it's still kind of tight inside. You got to remember, I'm a big guy. I'm a big kid in high school, so I'm just trying to like maneuver myself into this, and I'm just knocking stuff over. And one of the things I knocked over was a cassette case. It held probably a dozen cassettes. I knocked it over, the cassettes go flying all over the place. And one of the cassettes that fell out was Hotel California by the Eagles. And I was looking at the cassette, and I started looking at the back of it, folded out the sleeve. I remember the bus trip where my friends had introduced me to that song. All I knew was the one song. I remember liking this song. I remember just looking at it and thinking, yeah, I wonder if I can listen to this now. I wonder if if I can get away with listening to this now. Nobody's gonna know. So I got the keys, and I turned it. I put it into the ignition, and I turned it just a little bit, just to put it in the auxiliary mode. And sure enough, the dash lit up. You could hear there was a cassette already in the cassette player, and I ejected it and put in Hotel California. And I started listening to it, and I was like, wow, I remember this. I started thinking about that bus trip. I started thinking about my friend who lost his father. And I just started thinking about my brother-in-law and how good of a person he was. And the thing is that all I could think about was this song that I'm barely familiar with played a major role in his life. And I can only imagine the stuff that went through his head every time he listened to this album, and how good it must have made him feel to listen to this music. Back then, I was one of those kids who only liked 1 or 2 songs on an album, on a cassette. I would rewind the song, cue it up, play it, listen to it, then rewind. I was one of those, but for some reason I ended up listening to the entire album, and I remember just really, really liking it. I just remember there's some songs on there that really stuck with me. Of course, the title track, Hotel California. I also really liked Pretty Maids All in a Row. I think Joe Walsh's vocals on that are just so amazing. And then you also have Life in the Fast Lane, which is pretty much the hardest song on that album. Well, that's pretty much my story with Hotel California. I hope you guys enjoyed it, you know, for what it was. Looking forward to hearing some of your stories, and I'm interested in hearing the music that you know struck a chord in your life. I think this could be fun. I think this could be interesting. But you know, let's see where it goes. I hope you got some kind of idea of what it is that I'm looking for and looking to get out of you guys. So if you guys want to participate, you know how to find me. I'm on Facebook, H-Bomb Productions, and we'll see what we can do. You know, I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited about this. So until next time, see ya.